Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wickedly Yours. I'm reviving this show after almost 3 years, and we do it with a little bit of a new format because our concentration now is on a program that was run by my son Ankur Gupta's company since last year, November 2025. So our focus would be on the IVision Youth Parliament that we did. The format of Wickedly Yours will still remain the same. I don't have a script. My guests don't have a script. None of them know what the questions are going to be. Just now, Ankur was just about to ask me what would be your first question. So I don't know myself what I'm going to ask him. So Wickedly Yours remains that totally upfront, totally without a script, and totally true. So beginning my first episode, we are concentrating on iVision Youth Parliament, as I said, part of the Ikshana marketing program that we did for the Hyderabad District schools in November 2025. So my first question is to Ankur, as CEO and as the company's founder. When you first met with Harichandana ma'am, the collector Hyderabad, and she asked you to do this kind of a program, was it the same format or was it something that you wanted like a Harvard Moon?
Initially, what I had thought of this program to be would have been a MUN, just a mock United Nations. But once we spoke to her, it became clear that she wanted something that was more Telangana focused and more Indian government focused, as to say. So we included the Indian Parliament and the Telangana Vision 2047 into it. So it sort of morphed into something bigger and I guess something better as well. So.
Okay, great. So, but when you initially planned it, that was around September. I remember when you had your first
Last
meeting.
year,
Yeah, last year. And when I went into a couple of meetings with you, and then we kind of did a fusion thing. We ultimately launched the program in November 2025. You were not here. You were in Perth, Australia. And you came back in December and December.
Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. So we had already done a lot of the program. Me, Sakshi, Fatima, we were part of
The initial phase.
yeah, the launch and everything that we did. Now, when you came back in December, what were your first thoughts when you came to know that we were there? Though, of course, I was troubling you right throughout with whatever troubleshooting real time. So
The first thing was I was pleasantly surprised that we got to that point. That was pretty good. Because my view was, I thought that after the Mandal event, especially with the exams coming up in Feb, it would lose steam. But it kept going and I think everybody was excited about it, right from the government to the teachers to the students. So that I think was good. And then we did the finals and subsequently the grand final in end of January. So I think everything worked out very well. Yeah.
right. So thanks, Ankur, for that. Sakshi, now my next question would be for you because you were associated with us right from the beginning when we did the orientation for the teachers. Now both of us have our own kind of a thought process for the orientation that we had for the government teachers when we walked into that room and what we felt. But considering November 4th or 6th, whenever we did the first orientation, to where we are now in edition 3, what do you think our journey has been?
So ma'am, when we talk about, first of all, I would like to tell you about the first thing when you told me this thing, okay, we are doing it with these many schools, 183 schools and 24 mandals and everything. So my first reaction was like, okay, wow, it's a boom, ki we are, actually doing it with the government schools, how it could be, because I have no, connection and I have not interacted with any of the government school, with the teachers, any of them. So I was like, yes, excited. And then when you told you were there and Ankur has started, so I was like, let's go for it. And then yes, when we started the first thing, the obviously you both have done it, from the very beginning, and whatever the apprehensions you have come across, and the dates are coming. We have Mandal program on this day. Oh no, it is not happening on that day. Next, we were moving to the next, month, and so on. So yes, it was quite a journey. And then yes, because like when we were there at the mandal level, so in the beginning, so I was like, okay, what is happening? So but then like how we went with the journey, and we were interacting with the students, then I came to know, okay, they are very excited, and they are like, the first of all, the program again, it's like it's one of a kind. So in Delhi when I was teaching, so I have been to Moon, and I have have that kind of rapport with the students, what are they going to do, but they usually talk about the countries and the global phenomena. But then here the program itself was a very unique thing, because you have the UN, the countries, B, you have the Telangana itself, and third again our own Indian Parliament. So it was amalgamation of all these three things. So again it's a very unique program, and I was very excited from the beginning itself. Okay, let's see how it is going to be. But then when I heard students and when I heard their speeches, so they were fantastic with their thoughts and opinions. Okay, government schools and government kids, because they don't get that kind of exposure, we know that. So when we went for the first orientation and we saw how students interacting with us, and when we went to the Mandal levels and all the students, okay, first they were having those speeches with them, the papers with them, but then when we were in the semi finale, so they were all through decked up, and they were all confident. Okay, I want to put my question, I want to answer, and we were then we got to know, okay, we have to time bound them. You can just go on and on and on. So we have time bound them. Okay, you just got the 1 minute, and then you just stop there. So it was again a very unique thing to see, because I haven't seen anything like that in my teaching experience, if I tell you. So yeah, it was good for me. And then now if I talk about edition 3 that we are going to do with the rural and the private schools, so like I think it is much learning for us. So like whatever the apprehensions were there in the first, like the small little things, although your everything was watertight and it was again impeccable, I can say that. But then like small things that we were doing, and time foundation, the jury and everything, the results that we were doing with Fatima ma'am. So initially, yes, we were doing all those things, but now we are tech savvy because we have Fatima ma'am with us. So like in addition to itself, we have seen the moment we are going to start the second committee, we have the results handy with us. So it was, yes, a great thing to do. And that's, yeah, I guess with the students, if I say, the government students, yes, they were doing it, but then if I compare it with the private schools and the rural, they have their own opinions, and they were able to formulate it, and they were able to say it loudly and with more confidence, if I say
so. Did you feel that when we did a comparison between, this question is directed to both of you, one by one, if you could answer that, when we saw the edition 1, because Uncle, you were there in January when we did the semi-finals and grand finale, and you saw the edition 2. So did you feel that the government students seemed little bit more differently prepared than the private and things? Sakshi, first, if you could answer.
Okay. So like, yeah, I can say that, because they were actually differently, because as we say, it's the teachers and the guider and the motivator who are going to motivate them and get them ready for it. So yes, for the government we have provided each and everything, real time situation, the speeches, the questions. I don't know about the answers yet, but then yes, all those things were provided to them, So it was like going on and on and on, like step by step they are doing it. But then if I talk about the private students, then yes, we have, tweaked the program according to them, and you have of course tweaked that according to them. So it was like, yes, they were giving the answers, but then more of the questions were there. They were not prepared for the answers. Again, they are not to blame them. We are not to blame them, but then the teachers, of course, you are just preparing your kids for the questions and questions and questions. Where are the answers? So that way, if I think like we should have, intrigued, and we should have given them that kind of like, okay, one, you can say the scenarios or any class or even something like that, so that we can prepare the students as well. Yeah. So for edition 3, this solution we can pick up, okay, we have to take one orientation for the students as well. So whatever we are thinking and what is the program is all about, we can convey it directly to them. Yeah. And we can prepare them. So that's,
maybe there was a gap there.
Yeah, so that's my call on this.
Yes, Uncle, what would you think?
I think similar answer, but the thing is, in the government thing, they were prepared with the answers as well. which I assume was because the teachers gave them the question and then even the answer to some other student. But in the private thing, the students themselves, I think, made the questions, but no one answered.
Yeah.
I think it was also lack of confidence in some way, because the government school, I think, got more practice, which in addition to we weren't
because of the
able.
delaying of the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to give them enough room, and especially also because it was right before the exams.
Correct.
So we couldn't ask them to devote their time to this.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our IVision Youth Parliament that we did for the government schools started in November 2025. We went into the grand finale in the beginning of January. So they had sufficient time of almost 2 months to prepare for it, which, as Ankur and Sakshi say, was probably a large amount of relaxed time. And that's not the time when you have too many exams as well. While for edition 2, we rushed them within 26 days to make sure that we had edition 2, basically because the schools wanted it that way. So maybe that was a lack of it, and as Sakshi and Ankur said, there were learnings for us. Fatima, coming to you. You were associated with us right from the beginning, and when we did the launch in November, end November, for the first in one of the government schools, you were part of it. Till then, maybe you just knew a little bit on the periphery, and that is when you just jumped into it with us, and you did a very good job of learning fast on and the ropes of it when we were doing it. So you saw the students then yourself. You saw them evolve into the grand finale in January. I'm just talking of the first edition. When you saw them there on the first stage when we did that launch program, and when you saw them in January 7th for the grand finale, after we had done 2 rehearsals with them, did you see a difference?
Lot of differences. The very first time I saw the students was one day before the actual launch. Like we were setting up the stage and the students were sitting and preparing for the next day launch program. So we happened to talk to few of them, and we could see actually how much they are excited to be a part of it. And then I realized, okay, they are also like government school students. Like I never thought, because it has been quite some time I am not into this education field, but seeing them that much enthusiasm, like preparing that curiously, it felt good. But they were all having paper, like Sakshi ma'am told, and they were rehearsing it like a stage play kind of thing. But it happened in the launch program also. But when the final one come, it was actually amazing to see how they have transformed. They had utilized that 2 months of gap they had in their hand, and we should appreciate the teachers as well. Like they had put some effort in training those students. It is not like I even actually asked you, this delay could will work in a negative way, whether they will lose interest by the time we reach the finals. But it was not like that. They had utilized that time, and it is a good thing, and I'm happy that they are doing it in a right way.
Yes, so we had the government schools doing it in a particular way. We also then later on were more closely associated when we did it with the private schools and things. Now coming to in terms of when we talk of the mentorship, because Sakshi didn't mention that about mentors of a different level there and a different set of mentors with the private schools. Because the most important difference that I think all of us noticed was the kind of motivation that was there with the teachers and the staff in edition 1 and the teachers and staff in edition 2. So when you talk of the teachers, you also had interactions with them. So edition 1, the group of mentors, and edition 2, group of mentors. Fatima, what kind of a difference did you see? If you were to kind of use 2 or 3 adjectives to describe the difference.
In edition 1, I happened to meet many teachers, and a few of them are super proactive. That was actually visible in the students as well. But in the later part, I could see only in the edition 2, I couldn't interact much with the teachers, maybe because they are very confident of their students. That could also be one thing. And the student also must have participated in so many such programs in a private environment. Could see that much of involvement on that stage, but I don't know what happened in the background, that you all will know. But as a third person watching it, I saw the teachers involved closely in the first edition than the second edition.
So you felt that maybe the government teachers were hand-holding a
Yes,
lot more
yes.
the students
That
there.
one of the reasons I was thinking is because this is their first time, getting the students to such a big platform, which doesn't happen in the government environment. So maybe that is the reason they want to guide the students to thoroughly to that point. But I may be wrong also, I'm not sure, but that is what I felt.
So no, that was another interesting thing that actually came out in the white paper. But there was a lot of hand-holding, which is evident right till the end, which I think I've mentioned in the white paper of the first edition, that the teachers were hand-holding them. Either it was because towards the end they had a district collector who said that it has to be done, there's no going back, so they just wanted to make it a success.
I think bureaucratic more than anything.
Yeah.
That would be the right adjective.
Yeah, and maybe that they also thought that the Ikshana team was not backing off. So we were all there right throughout. All right, so now we've spoken of how the students were a little different. We've spoken of how the teachers were a little different. We've also spoken of our learnings that we've had from edition 1 to edition 2 and now going into edition 3. So what are the main challenges actually you feel that we would have in edition 3 that we must keep in mind if we were to do a quick recap one by one?
Okay, so challenging, first of all, like I have already said that first we have to do the orientation with the students. I believe and I have seen that when we were doing the orientation with the teachers and when we did 1 or 2 orientation with the students have their own questions, their own thing that was coming, and that was quite a good thing that they were, opening up and they are coming with the relevant questions. So in spite of giving orientations to the teachers, like we should give orientation to the students, because I think they are the one who are going, because the whole program is for the students only, and they are the one who is going to gain it from them. So I believe this thing we can do, we should keep this as the priority. And second of all, yes, it's not a challenge if I say, because we have given them each and everything, starting from the speeches, from the topics, everything, but then too the questions were coming. So so like I think in spite of giving it to the teachers, we just have the conversation and orientation with the students itself. So I believe and apart from it, I don't think any challenge we face, because it was quite a good program, and till edition 3 or we have done edition 2, we were like kind of okay, this thing is going on, okay, we have this solution for it, So we have done it in edition 1 itself, because again it was a government setup, so there were delays from them. But then in edition 2, but I have seen the teachers were also proactive and they were asking questions, and then you have provided the real-time solutions to them as well. So they were taking in the suggestions and the advices, and when we have put that grand finale, so everything put in very well. So edition 3, yes, we can do more of the students' orientations. Yes.
Ankur, anything that you feel administratively from the point of view of your interactions with the teams that can be different, or maybe we could keep it in mind when we are starting off?
What I was thinking is we gave awards for the best delegate, for the best speaker, best team, and best paper presentation, I think it was, and the IVision champion. Maybe we can also keep one for the best mentor. That will keep the teachers and the management more involved in this process.
Yeah.
I think that would be something that we can look at.
Yes.
Otherwise, from the student and teacher part, I think you guys would know better than me on that count.
Fatima, what do you feel that anything from your point of view, because you were with the jury, you were getting our results done, and as Sakshi very rightly said, I mean, we actually did become pros by the time it was edition 2, because all the roadblocks and whatever we kind of had along the way from November onwards, we were able to iron it out and learn. And of course, the way that you put together the tech thing for the jury to do it, our results were ready in no time. So, but apart from that, anything else that you think that we must keep in mind for edition 3, because we'll soon be going into a brainstorm with the team of TRSMA. So,
Only thing is, in the addition to, if you remember, because of the time crunch, we have to combine the semi-finals and finals as one, right? But initially we had a plan of conducting the semi-finals first and then finals. That would have been even more better, because jury, when they are sitting there and listening to all these things, like it is okay, we are giving marks for each and everything, but then they have to go back and forth, and we want to do it in a very correct way. We don't want to be biased in any way. That is why you didn't even give students schools or names or anything in that, right? But if we are having two rounds of rounds to judge the students, it would be more good. I mean, it is better for the, yes, it's from the point of view we could see the students performing twice, and then we will know, like, okay, what the decision we are making is not wrong, like we are doing the right one. So that way it would be better, especially when we are choosing the IVision champion. If we had gone through one more round, it would have been more easier to pick that person. Yeah.
Yes, very true. So the thing is that if I were to just do a recap of what we all felt, was that maybe a student orientation, a more comprehensive one for edition 3 would make sense, probably introducing a mentor award, and keeping in mind that maybe we could do it a semi-final first before the final. Of course, edition 3 would be a little different for all of us, because TRSMA has got presence across the state of Telangana, and there'll be, like I was just asking Ravi, that there are 36 districts, I believe. So we would, if we would go into 36 editions first happening, and then coming together for the grand finale, that in itself will be a large amount of things. So maybe we'll have to ask them administratively how to work that out. So we would have a process of, our jury listening into more people, more number of times before we get to the finals, and we have the finalists there.
I think that's where the tech part will also come in, because maybe it won't be realistic for the jury to go to each district, so
We
live
should-
link sort of a thing.
Something,
Would,
yeah.
we
That
saw
would be-
how tech changed from edition 1 to 2, thanks to Fatima ma'am with the sheets on Google and stuff. That helped many of the jury members who haven't written anything for a long time. They felt more at home.
Then when committee was done and we had the
It did-
winners on the hand, oh, it's done already.
Yes. Yeah,
In edition
because
1, I remember
Yeah.
it was a
it's quite
pain.
a struggle.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit of a struggle. Right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this inaugural edition of Wickedly Yours again. And we hope to go into our IVision Youth Parliament much more confident in edition 3 and geared up to do that, because we'll soon be going into a meeting with TRSMA and subsequently walk into the campuses to talk to the students as well, and maybe have a formal launch around August 2026, where all the schools are covered, with a grand finale in January 2027. So all the best to all of us. Thank you so much, viewers, for being with us and listening into our kind of conversations and reflections. So this is Wickedly Yours. We'll come back again with another interesting edition with another interesting guest very soon. Thank you so much.